Let us know what you got in the comments. We're about ready to talk about the top 100. Today's a perfect day to do it because I think they just released 1 through 10 today, right? Is that's what happened? Yeah, so
Yeah.
we got a little thing. We're not going to go through each and every one, but we're going to kind of pick out some of the things we liked and didn't like. It's pretty standard. Patrick Mahomes is number 1. I'm kind of a little bit irked by the fact that the next person is Justin Jefferson, who he's great. I get it, but if we're going to play in a division where quarterbacks are the only people who are competing for an MVP, I have a hard time believing that 1 through 5 shouldn't be all fucking quarterbacks. Am I the only one that thinks that way?
No, and to me, it's like if you're gonna have Justin Jefferson number 2, Jamar Chase can't be 39.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, that doesn't make
he
much
just
sense to
can't
me
be.
either. No, and then you got Jalen Hurts coming in at 3, and then Burrow at 6. I don't know if you guys paid attention to people who made this list, but Burrow was ahead of him in just about every fucking stat last year. I think that he got close to the amount of total yards, but a lot of them were on the feet, so it wasn't as necessarily passing, but I guess you can still do some with your feet, but it just didn't make much sense. My guess is that he got in because, Super Bowl. He made the Super Bowl last year. Outside of that, yeah, I don't know. The other thing that I have to say about it is I don't know how any people from the Cowboys made the top 100. That just doesn't make any fucking sense. So,
Michael Parsons. Yeah, okay, you're bullshitting.
No,
I get
yeah,
it.
Micah Parsons, I think he's still being underrated. Honestly,
I totally agree.
I think he's a top 5 player in the league.
well, I
think you flip him and Bosa, to be completely honest.
I like Nick Bosa in the top 5. I really do. I think that he's kind of the top defensive player. Parsons is a little bitch, so fucking maybe if you move the team that's not the Cowgirls, I'll have some respect for you. But yeah, Travis Kelce's also up there in number 5, which I kind of get. But again, I think that there's just a couple quarterbacks that should be in over there. He is a highly valuable player to his team. And then Tyreek Hill, I could honestly say that he might deserve to be up there with Justin Jefferson. I know a lot of people don't agree with me, but I think that he's personally the best receiver in the league. That's just me. But yeah, you guys got any other comments?
Here's one that really pissed me off. How about Aaron Rodgers number 51 and Kirk Cousins number 42?
Number 42. Well,
They got Kirk Cousins over Aaron Rodgers, dog.
I personally don't think that Kirk Cousins is a
God.
better quarterback than Rodgers, but if we look at his stats
Kirk
from
Cousins-
last year's, I think he just kind of shredded fucking most people in the league. But
Who's the number 2 player in the NFL top 100?
Justin
His
Jefferson.
wide receiver
Yeah,
1.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, where are the receivers that Aaron Rodgers had? Is there any of his on the top 100?
There's none, but at the same time, he didn't put up the numbers. He has a number 2 receiver. What is
That's
your
fine,
issue with
but
Kirk Cousins, dude? Fucking
Kirk Cousins, dude.
Why do you hate him so
because
much?
I've made a lot of money betting against Kirk Cousins, and people just won't listen to me.
So you hate
It's
him?
like, no, I don't hate him. I'm all about the truth, baby. All about the truth.
Okay.
He's not good. At the end
He's
of the
not
day,
good.
he played 1 week longer than Aaron Rodgers did last year.
Yeah. Aaron Rodgers had
Period.
absolutely no one to throw to.
Nobody.
Like, none of his wide receivers made that list.
Well,
he was throwing to Christian Watson and Alan Lazard.
a
Right.
lot of people like a lot of us were taking the Jets to be really good, and thinking that Aaron Rodgers was the reason why they would have the turnaround. It seems like he's kind of just throwing to the same fucking people that he's been throwing to his whole life. Like you got Garrett Wilson, but outside of that,
was gonna say,
Lazar
besides-
moved over and Randall Cobb's there. Fucking, those are 2 beaten old men. So fucking, what's going
He's
on?
going to his best defense he's ever had.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
he's also going to have the best running attack that he's probably ever had.
But everyone
which
talks about how
relieves
he
pressure off of the quarterback.
Yeah, well, maybe I guess so, but we'll see what happens.
When
with it.
when Joe Mixon, when the Bengals running game is actually going, how much easier does it get for Burrow?
Do what?
Yeah, it opens it up.
Yeah,
opens everything
It
up.
opens up
It
a
opens
lot,
everything up.
but he never really has
It
those
keeps
options.
the linebackers out of the box.
So,
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like Brees Hall was the rookie of the year until he got hurt.
yeah, and he got hurt.
Like
probably
there's
early,
there's
too.
3 stud rookie second year players now on the Jets.
I'm surprised
And they got
Devontae.
Quinn Williams, Mekhi Becton.
Yeah,
I'm surprised Devontae Smith was the 100th player on this list.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like he had a decent year for somebody. Was that his rookie season last year?
well,
I don't think so.
It
Stephon
was his second year.
Stephon Diggs at 16 also was one that
Yeah, that's
irritated me.
ludicrous.
Yeah, I don't understand
CD,
how.
see any receiver outside of Justin Jefferson over Jamar Chase, I'm not even listening to your argument. It's just wrong.
For
Like,
real. And no, I think the reason why Jamar got
like you can say Devontae Adams, that's fine, but like he's
I think the
regressing.
I think the reason why he got kind of snubbed for a high position this year is because we have T. Higgins, who had arguably, well, it was just as good of a year as him, but arguably had the better year this year because, Jamar went off the year before that so much, and now it's just one of those things where they have this like competition, and because they're both fucking absolute monsters, their stats just get brought down because they're so good with each other. You know what I mean?
T didn't make the top 100, by the way.
Yeah,
Right.
which is garbage. Yeah, I don't understand how that, because we have a bunch
Neither did DJ Reader.
we have a bunch of people talking about how we have the best receiving core in the fucking league, but I think the Eagles got fucking two
only got
receivers
one
in
guy?
there. Yeah, and
Right.
like what's going on there? Jalen Waddle's on there, so
Right.
yeah,
So is Tyreek Hill.
yeah, so that doesn't make a damn bit of sense.
How is Jared Goff ahead of Lamar Jackson?
Yeah.
Really? Are you kidding me? The only
No.
thing.
It's because they like games played.
So let me ask this: Does this
Yeah,
fucking
Lamar 72, Jared Goff 66.
So does this list have to go with just the best players, or does it have to do with like the best players coming into this year, meaning like their
The season
performance
based off
last
the
year?
season
The
last
season.
year,
The
season
going
last year?
into this.
Okay.
Coming into this year, though.
Well,
yes.
fucking Lamar Jackson fucking didn't play like 6 games last year and fucking sat out. I think he ended up getting hit because his player voted, right? So fucking I think a lot of players kind of were like, "Hey, little bitch, fucking you're down here now," because they've lost respect for him. I know I've always never really had respect for Lamar Jackson, but that's because he's ugly.
But is he really the 72nd best player?
Probably not. Not in my opinion.
And
but-
look, I'm not like obviously it's always Burrow versus Herbert. Like they're always pitted against each other, but Herbert's not number 32.
No, not at all.
No.
And
Like
I could
Herbert's a top 10.
I could
all
argue
day, every day.
I could
He's
ar-
a top 5 probably.
I could argue that he does more for his team than fucking Jalen Hurts, because Jalen Hurts has fucking the best offensive
Or
line
Justin
in the
Jefferson.
league. Fucking all kinds of people. Fucking yeah. No, I get that. I'm agreeing with you, but like I would argue that Herbert is the third quarterback over Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts just has fucking so much more behind him and made a Super Bowl. So that probably all goes into why the players take it. If they vote from every player, I'm assuming. So you just probably have some like brain dead motherfuckers there. They couldn't pass.
What about-
they couldn't pass their fucking algebra class in high school, so they had to play Demons in the Bibles at UC or some shit like that.
What about Trevor Lawrence at 96th overall?
Yeah, there's not a quarterback in like if you're a legit playoff starting quarterback, you're a top 50 player.
I was about to say the same thing. If you're a top 10 quarterback, I'd say that you're a top 50 player in the league. And that just has to go
Yeah.
back to my theory before with like, if you're going to do this, I would imagine the quarterbacks need to be like 1 through 5 at least. So they should.
But a lot of people put Trevor Lawrence up there in like hovering around that 10th spot.
There's
As a
people
top
that put
10
him
quarterback.
over Herbert.
So then there's a lot
Correct.
of.
That's what I'm saying. So
there-
he's the 96th best player.
Well, that
Oh,
means that
no,
there's a
no.
lot of people who fucking.
Well, that's
probably
where he was
voted-
placed. He's 96th.
Listen, he probably got voted so low by other players that it evened out. He had outliers on both sides, so that's just
Yeah,
where it ended up
probably.
evening out at. That's what.
So then, how much of this can you take to like gospel? You know what I'm saying? Like,
right, and that's why we're not going through
yeah.
it 1 through 100.
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and that's why it's because it's just a
Because like,
player's.
dude, they got
player's
Josh
opinion.
Jacobs at 12, and we're sitting here hearing about how worthless running backs are all year or all off season.
Yeah,
But they got Austin Eckler in there. Like I think Saquon's in there somewhere. Like
yeah.
no,
I don't
for
know,
sure.
there's just-
And
yeah, there's-
oh, that was another one that I wanted to pick on before we leave. Miles Garrett at 20th is the best fucking.
Yeah.
Chubbs is like in the below him and shit too. Like you're talking about probably, in my opinion, the best edge and the best fucking running back in the league.
who's
So-
Right.
who's blocking Miles Garrett?
No one.
Like-
no one at all. The only one I would say Bosa might be up there with him, but like again, if we're going to talk about Bosa being in the top fucking 5, then why the hell is Miles Garrett not somewhere in the top, or at least around the top 5? Doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense.
The only reason I like Micah Parsons so much is because you can put him at an outside linebacker or edge rushing position. You can play him the 3-4 or the 4-3.
Yeah, but cowgirls.
Dude just doesn't come out.
But cowgirls.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway. All right, so you guys got any more that you want to pick on?
Not necessarily.
No, because we can wrap that up. I think we got a lot of the bigger ones, because once you start getting past like 25 and stuff, it kind of just starts going down the hill from there. So let's move on to the college football realignment, which is the one that I am most excited to talk about. I've always been more of a college guy rather than an NFL guy, and I just don't see what the fuck they are doing with these goddamn alignments. It doesn't make any sense at all. If you don't know about what happened, the Pac-12, this kind of gives you a little bit of what's going on right here. These are the 4 teams left in the entire league: Cal, Oregon State, Stanford, and Washington State. Washington and Oregon decided that they're going to join the Big Ten for whatever reasons. We need fucking 16 teams in the Big Ten. And, now you got, because that all happened, you had a bunch of teams, Colorado, Utah, Arizona, and Arizona State, that decided to divert back to the Big 12. Not all of them were there, but I know Colorado was there, and I don't know. Utah came from somewhere else. But kind of get into it, boys. How is you feeling about these conferences?
It doesn't make any sense to me, like with them adding all the Western schools to the Big Ten. Like how we were saying before we started recording, like there's like the Big Ten West schools is basically just the new Pac-12.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't make a ton of sense, and it's like now you got Arizona, Arizona State, or the 4 teams that are left. You got the random 4 teams that are left. It's like the Pac-12 Weenie Hut Junior. Like it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it doesn't make much sense. I don't think they're doing a West and East, so that's not technically how they're dividing it. But the way that they're doing it is 16 teams, and as we were saying before, each team gets to pick 3. So me being an Ohio State fan, they'll probably pick Michigan, of course, Penn State, and then a team like, I'd imagine either Wisconsin or Michigan State from that division. And they'll play those 3 teams each year, and every other team will be cycled from there on out. So, the one big thing that I see about the Big Ten is this is primarily Midwest teams, and then not until Maryland and Rutgers came in did you really get any East Coast teams. UCLA and USC having to come over and play Midwest teams in the middle of fucking December or November is going to be a train wreck. These teams aren't the same teams from the early 2000s. UCLA never was. USC is not the same team that they used to be back in like the early 2000s and stuff with Reggie Bush. They've fell off a lot. They don't have the recruiting class. People in California just are not into sports as much as they were anymore. The recruits aren't coming up. It's harder for them to get players. And then you have to go over and maybe have to play Ohio State in the fucking snow. Are you kidding me? These teams are going to get dominated.
To save your season. Save your season.
Yeah, no, it doesn't make any sense at all. And I mean, they'll probably get Lucas Oil for the championship game, but I don't see them ever making it being contenders. Maybe a couple years down the line. What?
Well, you also got to think, too, like UCLA, like they might open with Michigan or Ohio State. That might be game 1. Like that might just be curtains.
Well,
as soon as the season starts, you might just have a loss.
Sometimes they don't start out with division games. Sometimes they'll do like three out of division games before they start moving into that. But like Ohio State opens with
either way,
Indiana
they try to start a couple top 25 teams against each other because everyone was bitching that college football didn't matter till like week 3.
Yeah.
So they like started sprinkling some like 1 versus 3s, like some SEC matchups in the first week.
That's just like what you were talking about before we got on, and like if you're gonna do that, stop matching fucking people up, the SEC teams against like North Dakota State or whatever. Actually, they're a pretty good D2 school team, but fucking like what I'm trying to say, like fucking some mid-major
like a Mississippi Valley State,
some FBS or team or whatever,
Alabama State,
some bullshit
Alabama
like that.
Tech.
Exactly. You get those matchups or whatever, and they just absolutely slaughter them. Now we're getting to talks about the SEC, maybe, because I don't know if you read anything about this. The ACC has this this thing that binds them into the ACC that goes for another decade. It just doesn't end until like 2034. And the teams that are going to have to leave there are going to have to they're going to have to buy out essentially and fucking spend a whole bunch of money to get moved. And the SEC's looking at like North Carolina and Virginia apparently was their big ones. And, if you have that, I'm a big proponent that the SEC in football at least is incredibly fucking overrated because they all beat up on each other and play no one else and everyone just thinks they're all-star teams, that they all get ranked in the top 25. If you start doing that with like North Carolinas and Virginias and stuff like that, half of the top 25 is going to be SEC teams, and none of them are going to play anybody. So
It's literally going to be SEC and Big Ten.
yeah,
That's going to be the top 25.
yeah. Well,
Like,
it's a
It's going
power.
to be the top 10.
It's a
gonna be
power.
the top 10.
It's a power 2 now, unless you're talking about basketball, because the Big 12 is kind of fucking.
Yeah.
They're kind of legit now that you're talking about. You have Kansas coming in. Well, Kansas is already there, and you have Arizona moving back in. Utah's got a pretty good program, but then you have teams like Baylor that's
Notorious
still in there,
basketball
BYU,
school, Cincinnati.
Texas Tech, yeah, but Cincinnati's on a real down. Houston's been really good lately. Kansas State's had a pretty good teams. West Virginia, even though they just lost Huggins. So, which, by the way, did you hear he's trying to get his job back? Apparently, he did.
Yeah, he said he
resign.
won't resign.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So, I
It's
mean,
the most Bob Huggins shit ever.
so we got that, but when it comes down to it, man, I'm kind of looking at the way football works, because at least in basketball, you have this thing where, you can play each team once a year, which I like having a home and home series against me being a UK fan, like Florida. Usually Florida be the team that we have a home and home series. Now you're kind of eliminating that, but in football, it's like you might play some of these teams that you've been playing for fucking 100 years, maybe once every 3 years, and I just don't like that. So
Another thing, I just thought about this, like, this kind of takes away, especially like with this whole Pac-12 and Big Ten like merger. Is this not completely taking away from the entire purpose of the Rose Bowl and like bowl games in general? Like Big Ten and
Yeah, dude,
Pac-10 always play each other in the Rose Bowl, and like
exactly, and the Rose Bowl is
it completely ruins it.
It's such a historic bowl game. The Big Ten and the Pac-12. Well, it was the Pac-10 for a while, but
Right.
that rivalry's been going on for hundreds of years. The Pac-12 just got completely eliminated. They have 4 teams left, and they're fucking nobodies. No other team wanted them, so they're probably going to have to go to some mid-major conference or accept some really shitty teams. They're not even going to be considered a power conference anymore. Those head-to-heads that you had for the Rose Bowl, like you said, completely gone. And a historic division just gone. Like that.
Yeah,
like
man,
man.
It's the granddaddy of them all.
Now, I don't know if you read into this at all, but like Oregon and Washington, a lot of people are saying that they actually lost out because once UCLA and USC left, they had to come in, and all this is about money. It's all about money and who's getting paid. Apparently, Oregon and Washington had to take some really shit deals to go over to the Big Ten, but they didn't want to be in the pack anymore because it wasn't going to be competitive. So,
Which it does make sense because, I mean, let's be real. Like these college football programs fund every other sport that the college puts on. So it's like, yeah,
except maybe
the college
basketball.
programs have, like it's for some schools, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's unfortunately like the legitimacy of college football and a lot of the bowl games and different things that happen that people look forward to each year. They're taking that out of football.
Yeah, that's what Stolze was just saying. I don't know if you were here. I know you just stepped away for a second.
No, I did step away for a work call, but yeah I mean it's taking away like you said, Stolze, the granddaddy of them all.
Yeah.
I mean it's
Right.
it's going to be, it's basically obsolete at this point.
Which, now let me ask you a question. Now that we're doing this and making these teams so big, do you do something where you like expand the season somehow so that the teams can play each other more?
I think overall you just get rid of you just make the NCAA not a part of it and just just make it what it is, and it's just separate school and sports and call it minor league football.
Rather than do this, I would like to see them just get rid of divisions all together. And maybe that's kind of like what you're saying. I think if you do it minor league,
Right.
you have to essentially just take like the Big 12, the Big 2 that we have, or Power 2, the Big 10 and the SEC.
Well,
all those
here's-
teams are like minor leagues. Another other team before it is like their
Right.
C league instead of a B league or whatever.
Right.
So
Well, that's what I was about to say is like you would have to, I guess it would kind of be like how the draft works. Like like say this happens. Every college, like you would have your Georgia, which is always going to be good because you got the good coaching and everything like that. So the worst team of that year would get that college's scouts or their players or whatever, first dibs on that team
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
that's too. I don't think that would ever happen.
Well,
to be
dude, have you
honest
seen
with
how
you.
soccer works, bro? Like
No,
soccer,
I
you
know.
can just not be
Well,
in the pro league
you're
anymore.
talking about relegation. You're talking about like the bottom
Right,
teams
I'm
getting moved
saying,
out.
like-
And I wouldn't mind seeing that
I'm
for
saying
some
in
of,
terms of a lot of, I'm saying like a lot of things going on.
for something like this where there are so many teams involved and so many teams getting screwed. That would be cool if you decide to go in that direction. But I think that at that point, if we're making it like a minor league school, like a minor league type thing, we'd have to almost like get rid of the coincidence with schools and make them actually
That's
like
what I'm
minor
saying.
league schools. But that's the thing.
Get rid of the NCAA.
I like college football. I like the fucking tradition that it involves, the fucking big bands playing every day, everyone has got their fight song or whatever, the rivalries, which are kind of getting fucked up or whatever. Now, you could say
still
that
do
it'll
that.
carry over, but I don't think it would necessarily be the same. So,
Well, you can still do that. So hear me out. Hear me out. There's 30. Every NFL team gets a minor league spot, right? The top colleges bid on a spot to be an NFL team's minor league team. It's funded through the college, so it's like a little side gig for the college, but it's not connected to school. So that way the name remains the same. Mascots remain the same.
I don't know if they could legally do that through their boards of education and stuff like that.
There's a lot that goes into something like
There's
that.
a
I think that would
lot.
probably be too difficult for something like the NFL and the
Yeah.
NCAA to come to some
The
sort of.
NCAA is on its way out.
I mean, honestly,
That's
it probably is.
NIL.
And that might, and you're right. The NIL might be bringing some bad things. Because, by the way, I don't know if you guys saw this, but Johnny Manziel's,
I think it's all good.
Johnny Manziel's doing Untold on Netflix or whatever that just released today. And he had a big thing with like players getting paid or whatever. But he was just talking on McAfee today. I was watching that as I was letting some chicken thaw or whatever. He's like, man, some of these fucking 18-year-olds guys are just like me. Now that you're paying them $2 million a year, he's like, you think they're going to show up to 5 a.m. practice, fucking do
Nope.
2-a-days and stuff like that? And you're ruining fucking kids' lives by doing that. And like,
Yep.
we wanted to pay them.
That's why you
but
gotta
now
know
it's
who you're giving the
now
money to.
Exactly. Now it's having the reverse fucking thing that it does. We can't trust the fucking guys in the NFL who got into it to not blow all their money on fucking strippers and cocaine and shit or whatever the fuck it is. And like, we're expecting an 18-year-old fresh out of high school, just got off their mom's fucking tit. Like, really?
No way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
why.
why.
That's like saying you can't. That's like saying you don't like invest aggressively into penny stocks because it's a shit company. But there's been penny stocks that fucking take off and be multi-million-dollar companies.
Yeah, that's
It's a
like, you
risk.
can't-
In anything you
like,
do, it's a
it's-
risk. Yes.
Yeah, it's a calculated investment.
But
It's
here's
no
the thing
different.
with NIL, and I mean, I don't speak about this, I don't know as much about the football aspect of it, but college basketball, I do. To me, it's ruining the, heart and like the drive that a kid has. Like guys from Kentucky this past season didn't have nearly as good of a season as they did the year before because they're getting, $4.5 million for the year.
Yeah.
The thing is, I think there should be, something or some institution or somebody or something in place that's going to oversee, the monies that are being funneled into these kids, because without that, like, what do they know? Like, they don't know how to handle that. You got $4.5 million as somebody who probably grew up in a poverty
shit neighborhood. Yeah, they're like,
No,
I want to
yeah,
go drive my
Fuck to do
Ferrari
it.
down fucking.
Or-
Johnny Manziel. He said,
It should
I wanna-
probably.
or they need to cap it to a certain degree to where it's not like it's still making them want it, okay, but like they're getting a little taste, not $4.5 million. I mean,
Right.
well,
Well, it's
what's
that-
talked
his
about
name
this
going to
on-
Kansas?
We
Go
talked
ahead.
about that on here before on one of the episodes when we were talking about NIL deals or something like that. A crisp $200K, $100,000 or something like that until you really perform and maybe you can move up through your years in the college.
Exactly.
That would make sense. But giving
Yes.
people the fucking millions of dollars immediately, nah, man, fucking it just
No.
it's ruining shit for college sports.
It is.
Yeah.
Basketball especially, because honestly that's become basically a free agent. It's a free agency, and these kids are now going to different colleges and interviewing with the coaches and the team and staff and all that, and they're basically leaving there and saying, How much money can you give me in NIL?
Yeah, and I think that's
And they're going to the highest bidder.
I think that's what Stolze's kind of saying about just making it a minor league thing. I think it kind of already is. It's just a little bit different because baseball, we already have like the minor leagues. That's where all the up and comers go and stuff. The college, the football players and basketball players have been doing that for years. I don't think there's a reason to switch it up. I think it ruins the sanctity of the league and, you know, the environment that college sports create, because I've always loved college sports, man. I don't want to see it turn into something else. It already kind of is turning into something else, and it pisses me off with these new leagues, but we'll see what happens. So I do have one more question that I want to ask about it, or just something that I want to raise, and if you guys or do you guys have something else you want to talk about?
No, go ahead.
Okay. So my last thing that I kind of have to say about the whole merging of these things, I think at this point we need to eliminate the college football, or not the college football playoff, the like league playoffs or whatever, the final game, the Big Ten championship game.
Big Ten championship.
Right.
Because you're going to have to play, some teams aren't going to be able to play each other for like 3 years or whatever, and that just makes a bunch of matchup issues. At this point, fuck that. Make the college football playoff 16 teams, and then that way, just about any mid-major school team, anyone who can perform, the best team everywhere at least gets a shot to prove their shit. That's the way I think.
And yeah, takes you back to just take the top 32 teams in the country or whatever, top 32 programs, and just make that the fucking divisions.
I mean,
and just go with it.
I like your idea, Spilly, honestly. If you give 12, 16 team playoff, it's basically you're gearing more towards March Madness and what college basketball does, because any one of those 68 teams have a chance to win a national championship.
And I think
and that's the dumb thing with D1 football though, dude. Like D2, D3, D4, D11, they all do 16 round playoffs. It doesn't make it like it makes no sense.
Well, it becomes the same 4 teams or maybe 6 teams that get into the football playoff every year.
Yeah, well, the reason why is because the structure that we had in Division I football has been set for so fucking long that it's just been the way we've done it. When you think about it, to 16 teams is more fair, because like how many times have like Ohio State and Michigan, I'll use my 2 teams, how many times have one of them qualified for playing in the national championship game? People think that they both should have been in the national championship, but because they played each other on the last game of the season, one of them ended up having to sit out of it. And we
conference championship.
Moved it to
Bama and Georgia.
Moved it to 4 teams, and that stuff is still happening. So 8, I think, helps a lot, but 16 at that point, I think there's no questions. If you can't get into the top 16, fuck off. I'm sorry.
Yeah, even if they tried like 12 at first, and then like all the realignment basically worked itself out, and then went to a 16, whatever. But you're right, Spilly. I like that. Anything more than 8, I think, would be a lot more competitive. It's just scheduling, though.
Yeah.
How do you schedule all that? Like, scheduling is going to be tough.
Dude, they're already having scheduling issues. Can you imagine being like an Oregon, Washington, USC, or UCLA that's going to have to fucking get on a plane and fly over to the Midwest? And then you have to play, I don't know if you were there, but you have to play like a Michigan in November and Ohio State in November when you're from SoCal? Are you kidding me? These teams aren't going to compete over in the Midwest. It just won't happen.
No. I mean, even scheduling just the bowl games in themselves, just to like basically finish by, a decent time frame. Like they would have to go into February.
Yeah.
At that point.
Yeah.
Or you just only play a real Division I schedule, like me and Spilly were talking about, and so you stop playing cupcakes in week 2 through 4.
Yeah.
But here's the thing about those cupcakes. And I know this from basketball, especially.
Stop.
Hold on.
Basketball is different than football.
There's no defending.
Yeah, there's no defending.
No, I get that. But you have to understand. That's how those. Hold on, listen. That's how those cupcakes make money. That's how those cupcakes make money for their
Figure
school.
it out.
That's cool, but
get better, suck less.
That's cool,
then
but
they need to just go down to a different division.
That's cool. That's cool. They're not.
That's what they're
I'm
forcing
cool with
them
that.
to do, basically.
Listen, guys, listen.
Correct. That's what
they're making money for their school, but you know what they're not making money for? The fucking College 1 division football. They're not making any money for this. They're fucking just feeding their own pockets. It does not help what we want to see get better. And by getting better, in order for that to get better, Alabama needs to stop playing fucking Alabama State for games 1 through 3.
No, I totally agree. I'm just saying that's how those institutions make money, though. They get so much money for playing those teams.
Well, these schools,
that's how they make
like
money.
You were saying, those trash schools that sit in the mid-major Division Ones would be good Division Two schools, but they're just hanging around in Division One just because they get the free money because they ride along with their big brothers.
Right,
It's
well,
like go be where you belong.
yeah,
Go be a
it's
real D2 school.
exactly.
Like,
It's the size of the institution too, and like the, obviously the amount of students and
yeah,
stuff
the
like that. Their
population.
enrollment,
Yeah.
yes, their enrollment.
Now, I could see something with the whole restructure of this working a little bit better. Like, say we have 16 teams now in the Big Ten, but eventually they ended up thinning them out because teams like Maryland and teams like Rutgers, I think those are two teams that don't even really deserve to be in a power conference. They should be one of those either D2 schools or football at least, D2 schools or a mid-major team. But football and basketball are so completely different because there's 300 something D1 schools in basketball and there's only like
and that's what I was
120
that's what I was about to say
football.
about the cupcakes thing.
Is there
Like
even 120?
in basketball,
Maybe.
like you have a bunch of those cupcakes that can beat a big school because
Yeah.
basketball's a lot more any
Different
given
sport.
day. Like in football, like we remember Appalachian State because that shit doesn't happen.
It just doesn't. No.
So it's like get them out.
yeah.
No,
I'm
I
tired of
agree.
seeing LSU up 73-10 in
Yeah,
week 3.
it's
Nobody cares.
different sports too. If you're a mid-major team in basketball, you can realistically live and die from the three, and if you have a really good game, you can win.
You
But
could have Steph Curry on your team,
you're-
who's at Davidson.
yeah,
Davidson,
your
right.
fucking 5'8" lineman is not going up against a 6'5", 280-pound linebacker or lineman from fucking Michigan. Or
I mean, you are seeing a lot of exciting football on a Saturday if basically the best teams were playing each other the whole season.
And that's all I want. I want the best product possible.
it's hard because I know a lot of people that won't watch college football because one, the teams score too high, and two, it's like, you're going through a
There's no
13-game
parity.
season. There's only like really maybe 2-3 top 25 games each week. So I don't know.
Well, and I'd like the coolest thing about the NFL is that you're not getting the same, like outside of like dynasties where you got like recently the Chiefs, which I'm not even going to call a dynasty because they're not. And then you got like the Patriots. But you're not having teams constantly go into the Super Bowl because of the way the NFL flips so fast.
Yeah.
Because like the parity. Yeah. And that's all I want in college football because I'm tired of seeing Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, and Michigan's finally getting up in there.
I think we're actually losing a little bit of that by restructuring the conferences like this because now teams aren't going to. You're not going to get that. Michigan State, or not even Michigan State. I'll say like Minnesota, a team in the Big Ten that has some average years or whatever, but because they've played Ohio State so many times, they might just shock them one year and something like that. Now you're kind of
I'll still
limiting
take USC over Ohio. I'll take USC Ohio State over Minnesota Ohio State though.
Well, I get what you're saying.
Just from an athletic standpoint,
I get
like
what you're
USC is
saying.
going to get better players.
I get what you're saying, but my whole point is just the level of years that they've been playing and the tradition.
Right.
Those teams are going to know a little bit more of the ins and outs of playing these teams, at least for a couple years until USC and UCLA can adjust. But, you got those UCLA, like we said before, those teams out there, like, it's very warm environments, and their recruiting class is solely usually out there. They might get a couple guys from some other places, but they're not. None of those kids are going to be used to playing in the winter, their freshman and sophomore years and stuff like that. So you might get 1 or 2 years that they even have the chance to play in the snow. So I don't see it working out very well for them, man.
Yeah, it's a lot of like scheduling and time change and a lot of that shit. Weather conditions. Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Can you imagine the Northwestern Ohio State game last year? You remember it was like 50-degree gusts and stuff like that. Can you imagine a USC team playing in that shit?
Yeah, with their spread offense, trying to throw the ball 50 times.
Yup. Yup.
Fumble.
Caleb Williams ain't that good. I'm sorry.
Nope. But I digress, y'all. Do we have any other
Oh,
comments?
did you guys? Yeah, did you guys see what Colin Cowherd did today? So he did a take of quarterbacks that are not able to win a Super Bowl at this point in time. That list included people like Johnny Manziel, Dwayne Haskins, who got hit by a truck last year and does not exist on Earth anymore.
Guys who
Right.
can't win a
Like-
Super Bowl, of course they're not going to win a Super Bowl. They're not in the fucking league.
Exactly. That's how lazy that fucking take is. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
Like,
yeah, I don't.
like who the fuck is his producer
What-
or
what
Colin
kind of
like
po-
how do
what-
you read Dwayne Haskins and not go like, wait, what?
What was the point he was trying to make?
That those guys would
It's
never
just
win a
one
Super
of
Bowl.
his- Well, no, you know how Cowherd gets when he like really doesn't like a certain player. He just rides them like
Yep.
how he's been riding Baker forever. So it's like it was an excuse to hate on Baker, to hate on Kirk Cousins, to hate on like who else was on that fucking list?
Subpar, shitty quarterbacks
Yeah,
from
just
college.
yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
I could
Gardner
see if his
Minshew's.
I could see if his point was like, these guys came out of college and were really like, highly rated, or like, there was a
Yeah.
lot of buzz surrounding them coming out of college and then going into the pros or whatever. Like those people who may not win a Super Bowl, that's one thing, but just to talk shit, I mean, that's a stupid.
That's literally all it came across to me as was like it was just like a smear campaign kind of.
Yeah,
Where
I
it's
did
like,
not
oh,
see
by
that.
the way, in case you guys forgot about these people, they suck.
Yeah, nah, that's not cool. Fuck that. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, he was getting a bunch of shit for it on Twitter today.
Yeah, well, oh well. I was just watching Taylor Lewin do a fucking beer Olympics on YouTube.
That shit got lit, bro.
Dude, I fucking they were like
They were like-
comedians and UFC fighters, basketball players.
Yeah.
Like, dude, it looked
The
pretty fucking
speed
lit.
pong, it looked like speedball.
I was only like
heated.
10 minutes maybe into it, so I'm probably gonna fall asleep to that right after we get done here, which I think we're about done because I'd like to get wrapping it up. We're over 30 minutes at this point, so
Cool.
you guys got anything else you'd like to say?
Who day?
Who dat, baby?
Red should have got pitching. Thanks for getting me to Bengal season, keeping me entertained. They're not a playoff team.
No, I saw that they're in third now.
Fuck everything. It's so goddamn stupid. Castellani's don't care. They don't want the better things for the Reds. But yeah, who day?
Yeah.
Are we gonna do a podcast for the first game of the season at my place?
What day
Probably
is the
we got to
first game?
figure
Or
out
like
how to.
what-
We
what's
Sunday?
the
got to
day?
figure out, but this is not
I
the
know
time
that.
while we're on.
I know,
air.
I
Yeah.
know. We can edit
Anyway,
this shit out.
this-
All right,
This
peace.
has been episode 16 of the Sports Podcast. Peace.